Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Location Rebel Academy case study. It's been a little while since we've done one, so I figure we should make this one really good. And this is one of the best stories I've heard in a long time. And I want to just introduce you to Jamie Macon. Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Oh, You're very welcome, Sean. Thank you for all the help that's enabled me to get to where we are today to have this talk.
Yeah, so let's chat about that. So you joined Location Rebel about 2 years ago. Give me a
hmm
little bit, of a rundown. Where were you then? It was kind of right in the middle of the pandemic. What were you doing for work? What drew you to freelancing, and what made you kind of finally take the leap to join Location Rebel Academy?
All right. Well, I'll back up actually just a couple years before that. I had a long career as an architectural drafter, and to some extent, the career happened to me versus something I deliberately created.
Yep.
Did I enjoy the work? Yes, for the most part. But so much of it I did not enjoy. I did not enjoy the rigidness of the office lifestyle of, literally being shackled to your cubicle during the best part of the day, and by the time you're out, it's dark or the afternoon
Oh, I
thunder.
can relate to that.
It's almost like I used to say I felt like I was in detention. Unfortunately, in the commercial construction business, it's a lot of very toxic work cultures, and
Yep.
I did not thrive in that environment. I don't know a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
Um, the pay for what I did, I used to tell people what I do, and they're like, "Oh, you must make the big bucks." No, I definitely didn't make the big bucks, and there was also very little job security. I mean, commercial construction
Uh,
was up, down, up, down. I mean, we had our
yeah.
downturns after 9/11. We had another downturn during the Great Recession. Our hours were frequently cut. There was always the threat of layoffs. There was very few raises, and ultimately there was no room for advancement. Um,
Yeah.
Long story short, the company that I worked for many years, they had one of those upper management changes in late 2017 that the writing was clearly on the wall that Jamie, the end is near for you here.
Yeah.
Um, at that point, I was already looking at changing careers. I started Googling on the internet, basically how to escape the corporate lifestyle. I mean, I knew
Yeah.
freelancing was a thing. How do I do it?
Yeah.
And so Location Rebel and your videos was one of the things that I found. I think initially, I had signed up for mailing lists for maybe three or four different people. Um, Watched, I couldn't even tell you how many YouTube channels, a lot.
Yep.
Location Rebel was the one I stuck with. Um, I started freelancing. Now, I guess it was a little bit unusual in that by the time I did join Location Rebel in 2021, I was full time freelancing. So, what transpired between late 2017 and then was I just started taking on some drafting work through word of mouth. I mean, people were
Yep.
starting to leave the company I was in. I had some contacts with a prior company, and it just happened organically. Your typical word of mouth. I'd come home, I'd do some drafting projects in the evening. Fast forward to the pandemic. We started working from home in March 2020, like everybody. That gave me even more time and more energy. It got me out of the toxic work environment, at least. And I started ramping up the freelancing. I also started taking some online classes in technical writing, which by that time was what I decided I wanted to transition to. I had done some technical writing as part of several drafting jobs, and that's where my heart was at the time. I really enjoyed that work. And I said, I want to pursue this. I want to get out of drafting. I want to get into technical writing.
And for people that don't know what technical writing is, how would you describe that?
I would describe it as a lot of how to kind of stuff. Any product that
Yeah.
you bought, it comes with a manual, it comes with a quick start guide. It could even be just the simple signs that you see on the wall directing you to, how to operate this machine or get to
Yeah.
this location. It could be the online help that you access within an app. It could be
Got
a
it.
set of instruction specifications. It's a pretty broad genre,
Got
but there's
it.
a lot of potential in it. It's a very hot area for freelancing. It pays very well, and it's also a little bit of a niche that you do need some specialized skills to do.
Yep.
And so, as I was taking these courses, I knew once I finished these that, I wanted to start finding technical writing clients. Well, I knew I wasn't going to get any of those through word of mouth. Everything I had word of mouth was drafting, and it had kind of already tapped out all the
Yeah.
possibilities. So, having watched your videos at that point for a better part of 4 years, I said I need a couple of things here. I really need the how to on the marketing and the landing work. And I also
Yep.
really, at that point, felt I need a community, I need some support. I mean, I tried to bounce ideas off my friends, but they had never done this. They were skeptical that, oh, you can make a living freelance writing, sure. Uh,
Yeah.
I needed the help, A, of people who were going through the process with me, but also to be able to ask questions of people who've been successfully doing it, who could say definitively, here's how I would approach this, or here's the advice I'd give, or here's what worked for me.
Yep.
And that all combined, it was basically summer of 2021, so 2 years ago, that I finally did decide it's time. I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, definitely. So once you made that, decision almost exactly 2 years ago, when you
Yep.
got inside Location Rebel, is that what you found? Were you able to get the help you need and, find that community and get help with the marketing with your business? What was that experience like in the first 6 months of your, Location Rebel journey?
It was fantastic because, for one, it's very well organized. And you've even said in a lot of your videos, yes, a lot of the information's already out there on YouTube. But the setup within Location Rebel, and I believe you had just switched it over to the new system at that point,
Yep.
uh, it was very organized. I knew exactly where I could look for something. I could find something later. It was also more thorough than the videos, and it very much appealed to me because even though what you do is not technical writing, the blueprints are very much a step by step, a how to. They
Yeah.
really get you through the process. And so what I was able to do, because I still had, I think it went till December that year, my technical writing courses, I was able to start learning some of this material in parallel with finishing my technical writing training. So I
Totally.
didn't I didn't immediately start sending out LOIs, but I am a planner, and I was able, through reading the material, attending the office hour calls, participating in the forums, be able to come up with a very solid plan to hit the ground running, basically at the start of 2022.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we kind of designed, especially the freelance writing content, is it doesn't matter if you're a regular content writer, a B2B writer, a technical writer, a copywriter, the process for finding work and getting clients is all pretty much the same. So if someone's sitting here watching this and they're like, well, I'm not a technical writer, it's like, doesn't
Yeah.
really matter whether it can be kind of any type of, freelance writing, but also really any type of freelancing. You can kind of follow this same process for freelance drafting if you wanted to, and it kind of works. Would you say that's been your experience?
And I definitely have. It's interesting you bring that up because I wanted to make that point. I have used it to land drafting work. I've used it to land some web design work, and even recently some video work.
Oh,
I have
awesome.
multiple skill set, and that's exactly what I needed. I'm not a marketing person by nature. I
Yeah.
was intimidated by marketing, and this demystified it. It wasn't the hardcore salesy marketing that I think everybody feels and dreads. This was a very down to earth, easy to do, even non intimidating. I mean, yeah, there's still sometimes that little nervousness when you hit the send button on the
Yep.
LOI, but it was a process that I was very comfortable with right away. And I was able to apply that and to start landing work.
Awesome. So you joined, the summer of 2021, the end of that year, you finished your technical writing course. Once you kind of hit the ground running and you started sending out those LOIs and actively marketing your business, how
Yep.
long would you say it was before you felt like you had, the number of clients you would like, and, you felt like the business was really kind of, becoming a real thing for you?
Well, I landed my first client within a month, and
Amazing.
interestingly, you had just started Freelancer's Friend. Um, Interestingly, my first client was something I had applied through Freelancer's Friend, and it was also actually a position that I didn't think I was going to get. In fact, I
Yeah.
didn't think initially. I almost didn't apply because the genre, it was definitely a technical writing project, kind of half technical writing, half user experience writing, as they called it. To me, that
Yeah.
was kind of the same thing. But it was actually for helping people open bank accounts uh, for emigrating to Portugal. In fact, a lot of digital nomads, it's a very popular place for digital nomads. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about Portuguese bank accounts or Portuguese passports.
Yeah.
I'm a construction, mechanical, computer kind of person. But when I really looked deep at the documentation they had that they wanted to build on and improve, I knew right away. I said, "Well, this is technical writing. It's basically writing the documents for the user step by step. What's going to happen at each step of the process, what they need to do, what to expect, different links, different graphics." And I applied for the job, and I landed the job, and
Amazing.
went fantastically well. I worked for them for about a half a year, and then they got the documentation to where they wanted it. And then because they had some other business stuff going, they said they put future documentation on hold. I do keep in touch with them, but I continued marketing, and I would say probably by, so we're talking early 2022 here. Sometimes I have to replay all this in my head.
Yeah.
Say by late summer 2022, I was getting a steady flow of work. Now, some of that is still my old school drafting work. I'm still doing some of this to this day.
Yep.
Uh, but it's probably, at any given time, it ranges from about half of the work being technical writing. I've had spells where it's 75% of my work. Right now, it's maybe only 25%. But it's been steady enough. I've been able to make a full-time living at this, and it's replaced my drafting income.
Oh, that's amazing. So, in just a second, I want to get to, what freelancing has enabled you to do now, I think is one of the coolest parts of the story. But for the person that's watching this and they're on the fence, they're thinking about buying Location Rebel, they're in a similar situation where they've watched some of my videos, they're like, is this guy a scam? Is it real? Can I become a freelancer? What would you say to that person that's considering jumping into Location Rebel? And what should they know based on your experience?
I would say I had similar concerns. I'd say you're smart to have those concerns, but I've got to say Location Rebel is 100% totally legit. One of the things that appealed to me is you always had a more down to earth approach. You weren't promising make $1 million in your first month. You
Yep.
made no secret of it that the work was going to, there's going to be work involved in this. It's not going to land in your lap, and it's going to build up slowly. And you didn't overpromise on the dollar amounts. I mean, I wasn't looking to make $1 million. Not that that wouldn't be nice,
Of
but I was just
course.
looking to place the income so I didn't have to sit in a cubicle on somebody else's terms every day. And, so what I found is, you and Liz are always available. I have been absolutely amazed at the one on one interaction we've had through the regular office hour calls, through the forums. You guys always respond to my emails. This isn't something that you just sell us once and then we never hear from you again. You are very involved day to day, and the community is very thriving and vibrant, and that was something I felt I really needed to being, I am a very highly independent person, but sometimes when you're doing something like this, you really need the support. You have moments where you're low, you need someone to pick you up motivationally. There's times
Yeah.
where I felt I could help and give advice to others in the community. There's times where I've had little breaks or faltered a little bit, and I need to get back on the horse, so to speak, and get going again. And your support and the support of the community has always made that possible for me.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of what I've, with all of these interviews I end up doing, it always ends up being the people that take advantage of the whole kind of community. Some
Yep.
people will come in, they'll read the blueprint quickly, and then they'll kind of ignore other things. And you'll come in,
Yep.
you show up on the office hour calls when you
Yep.
have questions, you ask questions via email, via forums, and you follow the process. And you kind of
Yep.
just, it's been so cool to see that evolution and watch everything kind of unfold. Every few months I get an email from you being like, hey, just landed this first job. Hey, just landed this better job. Hey, like full time now. And it's been so cool to see that. And I really attribute that to the fact that you not just have followed the course, but you've also leveraged all of the tools that are part of the program that often people just don't do. They say, okay, well, here's the system, but I think I know better. I'm going to try and reinvent the wheel and do things my way. And I tell people over and over again, if you just follow the program and
Yep.
take and utilize the resources you're given, that it works. Sometimes it
Yep.
happens faster for different people than others, but over
Yeah.
time it's going to work. And so it's been really cool to see that that's been the case with you.
Thank you. Yep.
So with all that said, so now you're a full-time freelancer, and just over the course of the last 6 months, one of the things I talk about a lot with Location Rebel is the kind of three-step process. We teach you some of the skills you need to be successful online. We help you freelance those skills, build some income and some confidence. And then the third thing is, once you've got that income and confidence, it's applying it to that thing you really want to be able to do, the thing that you're passionate about in life. And whether that's, for me, it was golf, it's a variety of different things for other people. What has freelancing led you to do now that was something that you wouldn't have been able to do when you were in your day job?
So freelancing has led me back to my very first love in life. If you go back to my early childhood, it was all about trains and railroading. My dad was a big rail fan. We had the model trains in the basement. We were always going for rides on trains. We were always going to rail fan trains, which basically means going to watch them. My dad would film them with old Super 8 film and literally cut them up in the basement, splice them together. And I grew up saying, I want to be an engineer. I want to be a conductor. I want to work for a railroad. Of course,
Yeah.
fast forward, getting out of high school, going to college, I let some very well meaning people convince me that no, you really don't want to do that. You want to go to school. You want to get a cushy office job. That's going to be the road to riches and happiness and fulfillment. You don't want to play around with dirty old trains, do you?
Yeah.
It turns out, yeah, I did. And the cushy office job felt more like a prison cell. It didn't lead me to happiness. It certainly didn't lead me to riches. So, long story short, because of freelancing, now I had time freedom.
Hmm.
And there's a local railroad in my area that's well known for running a lot of vintage equipment, they'll use the old steam engine on passenger excursions, and I'm talking all day excursions. There's a scenic railroad close to home. Now, I've been following this railroad for probably about 15 years. Big fan of them. They were one of the first things in the area to reopen during the pandemic. So I started going for rides again. I started filming them, putting them on my YouTube channel. But the real game changer came last year when they started testing their old steam locomotive that they were putting back into service after being off the rails since 1991. And
Wow.
as you can imagine, a lot of these tests happen during the week. Well, I
Yep.
had the freedom as a freelancer when I heard that thing was out running. I could literally drop everything I was doing, grab my camera, hop in the truck, and go find this thing and film this thing. Well, through doing this and just through being around the railroad a lot, I got to know the owner of the railroad. I got to know a lot of the employees on the scenic train. I got to know some of the mid level managers. And I always said this was going to be my retirement job to work on the scenic
Hmm.
railroad. Well, through having a lot of talks with them, they start saying, well, what are you waiting for? Why aren't you doing this now? And I start these excuses about my real career and this and that. And then it hit me, I'm a freelancer. I usually work at night anyway. I could do this during the day. I don't have to wait. I don't have to be retired. So this spring, because it is a bit of a seasonal business being on the East
Yep.
Coast, This spring, when they started their hiring spree, I put in an application that went well. They hired me pretty quickly, and I now work several days a week on their scenic railroad. I work as a car attendant, I work in the ticket booth, I work as narrator, and I'm also doing some videos for their YouTube channel. And get this, we're even talking about having me doing some of the technical writing for one of their subsidiary companies. And
Oh,
none of this, go ahead.
no, I was just saying this whole thing, this whole like serendipitous thing that led you here is just, it makes me
Yeah,
so happy to hear.
none of this could have happened without freelancing and working for them. I never thought when I started freelancing, I thought I will never take a conventional W 2 job again, ever, ever, ever. But working for this railroad, I'll tell you what, this is the fulfillment of so many childhood dreams. Okay, I'm not engineer yet, I'm not conductor yet. Are those
Yep.
things happen? Maybe, possibly. There's potentially some other possibilities with the railroad that maybe as an adult I'm a little more enthused about, a little more suited for. But I
Yep.
have this possibility, and I got to tell you, I am as happy as a kid every day when I go to work on that train.
Oh my gosh. And what's cool about it is you get to do it because you want to do it,
I
not because
want.
you have to do it. You've got your career, so it's like you can focus on the parts of trains that excite you. And I know you've talked about doing your own YouTube channel relating to this, which I think
Yep,
is, even cooler because you're taking all the skills and everything that you've learned doing online work and you can apply it to that. And now you've
yep,
got access that nobody else gets to have, in this, kind of train world and train community. And for people that are thinking about doing that, we've got our second flagship course within Location Rebel is called Make Money Blogging, which helps you build a niche site, a niche brand around something you like.
yep.
So as you jump into that world, then hopefully that'll continue to be a useful resource as well.
Absolutely. And that was, I'm always a very forward thinking person. When I decided to join Location Rebel, knowing that that material was there and would be there basically for life was also another perk. I said, this meets my needs now, and it's also going to meet my future needs. I just had no idea that my future was going to evolve so beautifully like it has like this.
Oh, I'm so happy to see how this is all played out. Just to wrap this up, is there anything for the people that are thinking about doing this or thinking about taking the leap, regardless whether or not they join Location Rebel, but for someone who was in the situation that you were in, is there any advice you would give that person?
Take the leap. And it is a leap of faith. Leaving my corporate job was one of the scariest decisions I ever made. It was also the best decision I ever made. And once I made the decision, it got easier from there, knowing I had this learning material, these blueprints, the support of you and Liz in the community. It felt like I wasn't doing this alone. It took a lot of the fear out of that equation. And needless to say, everybody's dream is going to be a little different. A lot of people join this because they want to work while they travel. A lot of people are doing it because they need flexibility around family. Whatever your needs, whatever your dreams, the material applies to so many different things. It's not a so rigidly defined path that, oh, you have to do just this. It's very adaptable to your own situation, to whatever niche you want to work in.
Yep.
And again, even have to be writing. We do focus a lot on freelance writing here. And I do agree it's a fantastic way to get into freelancing. You've talked about using it as a bridge business.
Yep.
Maybe writing's your ultimate destination, or maybe you use it to get to your ultimate destination. But there is so much flexibility here. And once you can leave the confines of a job and have the flexibility and honestly security of freelancing, because I'm in control of my career now. I'm not waiting for somebody in the corporate suite to make that
Yep.
decision for me. Just take the leap. I understand that it takes a lot to get over that hurdle, but just do it because you're going to feel so much better when you do, and you're going to have so much support and help while you do it.
Definitely. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything you've put into the community and you taking the time to do this. I will link to all of your stuff for your writing, for your business, anything you want. You can learn more about her in the box below. If you're also interested in joining Location Rebel Academy, you can link there below. You can drop a comment. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Jamie would probably be happy to answer any questions as well if you want to get in touch with her and ask her about her experience. But with all of that
Absolutely.
said, thank you again for taking the time, and I'm so excited to see how this all evolves for you.
No, you're very welcome, and thank you, and thank Liz, and thank everybody at Location Rebel. It's gotten me where I never imagined I really would be.